You just found out someone died. Maybe it was a text message. Maybe a phone call at a strange hour. Your chest tightens. Your mind goes blank. You don't know what to do with your hands. That feeling, that exact confusion, is not new. It is older than language. It is older than your species, in fact. But the real answer to what humans do when someone dies is far stranger than a funeral home and a eulogy. It goes back over 100,000 years, to caves, to red pigment, to bones arranged on purpose. And it starts with a question scientists still argue about today. Did the first humans to bury their dead know they were doing something sacred? Or were they just trying to keep the smell away? Rewind to Shanidar Cave in what is now northern Iraq. In the 1950s, archaeologist Ralph Solecki uncovered Neanderthal remains buried with unusual care. Around one skeleton, soil samples showed high concentrations of pollen. Solecki suggested this meant flowers had been placed in the grave. He called it evidence of ritual, evidence of grief, evidence, some said, of love. The idea captured the public imagination instantly. A newspaper headline could write itself. Neanderthals, the supposed brutes of human history, mourning their dead with wildflowers. It felt beautiful. It felt human. But here's the twist. Later researchers questioned the pollen. Some argued it came from burrowing rodents that store seeds underground, not from ceremonial bouquets. The debate is still unresolved. And that single unresolved question tells you something important. Even scientists cannot always separate ritual from accident, meaning from coincidence. This is exactly the confusion your own brain feels when it stands at the edge of loss. Because burial itself, stripped of flowers and symbolism, may have started as something far more practical. A body left in the open attracts predators. It attracts insects, disease, and grim reminders every time you pass by. Digging a hole and covering the smell was, at first, likely closer to hygiene than religion. Anthropologist Paul Pettit, who has spent decades studying the origins of human burial, argues that early hominins buried their dead for reasons that were probably mixed. Practical, emotional, territorial, not one motive, a blend. Here is where it gets stranger, because at some point burial stopped being about the smell. At sites like Qafzeh Cave in Israel, dated to around 100,000 years ago, archaeologists found early Homo sapiens burials that included deliberately placed objects. A deer jawbone resting in the hands of one skeleton, red ochre pigment scattered nearby. Ochre doesn't preserve a body. It doesn't stop decay. It does nothing practical at all. So why put it there? The leading explanation is symbolism. Red ochre resembles blood, resembles life, resembles something the living wanted to give back to the dead, even knowing it wouldn't be used. This is the moment historians point to as one of the earliest signs of abstract thought. Not just staying alive, not just avoiding predators, but imagining something beyond the body, an afterlife perhaps, or simply a refusal to let a person become nothing. Feel that for a second. 100,000 years ago, someone knelt beside a corpse, and instead of walking away, they placed color on it. On purpose. With intention. That is not animal instinct. That is grief translated into action. And it did not stop there. By the time you reach the Upper Paleolithic period, roughly 30,000 years ago, burials become elaborate. At the Sungir site in Russia, archaeologists uncovered 2 children buried head to head, covered in thousands of ivory beads. Each bead, researchers estimate, would have taken an hour to carve by hand. That means these 2 children were buried with tens of thousands of hours of labor. Not because they earned it through status. Researchers believe the beads reflect what their community believed about them, or perhaps about death itself. Ask yourself, why would a hunting and gathering society, one that needed every hour of daylight for survival, spend that much time decorating a corpse that could not see it? The answer researchers keep circling back to is this. Death rituals were never really for the dead. They were for the living. Psychologist Ernest Becker, in his work on mortality and human behavior, argued that awareness of death is one of the defining pressures on human psychology. Humans, unlike most other animals, know they are going to die. That knowledge is unbearable if left unmanaged. So cultures build symbols